BBC World Service and now Witness History with me, Gill Kearsley. I'm taking you back to 2005 and the theft of some of the most treasured film memorabilia of all time, the ruby slippers from The Wizard of Oz.
They're more than just a pair of shoes, the slippers. They're an enduring symbol of the power of belief.
That's Scott Johnson from Grand Rapids Police Force at a press conference in 2018. Grand Rapids in Minnesota is where Judy Garland, who starred as Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, was born. Her childhood home has been restored to appear as it did in about 1925 when she grew up there, and next door is the Judy Garland Museum. John Kelsch is one of the people who started the museum, where a pair of ruby slippers that in the film had magical qualities, became a symbol of Hollywood, and even have their own fan club, was stolen from in 2005.
This isn't just a story about some slippers being stolen that were used in a movie. They're considered a work of art from The Wizard of Oz.
The musical fantasy film The Wizard of Oz premiered in August 1939. The movie starts off in black and white, then changes to glorious Technicolor when Dorothy arrives in the magical land of Oz. The story tells of her being swept away in a tornado, where she needs to find the Wizard of Oz in order to get home. Wearing her ruby slippers, she follows the yellow brick road and makes friends on her journey with a Tin Man, a lion and a scarecrow. Ray Bolger played the scarecrow.
The Wizard of Oz is an American classic. It had a basic philosophy that there was no place like home.
And the way that Dorothy eventually did make it home was with the help of the magical ruby slippers. She was told, "Close your eyes, tap your heels together 3 times, and think to yourself, there's no place like home."
There were perhaps 10 or more pair made for the movie. As I understand it, 4 pair have survived.
And they were discovered in 1970, when Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Studio decided to liquidate their entire lot.
Like other big Hollywood movie makers, MGM last year had a bad year. So now come drastic measures. 150 acres are being sold. But what's really exciting sentimental filmgoers more than anything else is the disposal of treasures used in over 2,200 MGM films during the past 56 years.
One of those items, a pair of the ruby slippers, ended up in the hands of collector Michael Shaw, who, according to the New York Times, paid $2,000 for them in 1970.
The Judy Garland Museum borrowed Michael Shaw's slippers 4 times, so we never owned that pair of slippers.
Each time the ruby slippers went on display, they were a huge hit, even though they didn't quite look as visitors had imagined.
When people first see the originals, they are somewhat shocked that they're not a bright ruby red. They're more of a darker, duller color, which evidently the early Technicolor picked up as a bright ruby red. There's nothing valuable in them, no rubies. I mean, they're individual sequins that adorned these pumps, you would call them.
Despite their less than sparkling appearance, the ruby slippers shone as an exhibit. And in 2005, the Judy Garland Museum struck a deal to display them all summer long.
The slippers were on a pedestal about 4 feet tall with a plexiglass top. We were concerned about security. Museum staff wanted to put the slippers in the safe every night when we closed up. But Michael Shaw did not want us to handle them. We monitored the slippers by camera during operating hours.
It was late August when something happened.
It was actually the night that Hurricane Katrina hit land in the U.S. Someone broke into the museum in the dark, shattered the glass on an emergency exit door, reached the gallery door, and were in and out of the museum with the slippers, the police estimate in about 50 seconds. Nearby the slippers in the gallery were the Academy Award, Oscar statuette, and Judy's original Tony Award. And none of those items were taken.
Which was the most valuable item?
The slippers.
The theft was not discovered immediately.
When the burglars entered the building, the bells and whistles were ringing at the museum, but the sheriff's office were not notified. So we didn't discover that till the next day when our front desk person, Kathy, opened on that Sunday morning, and she called me. I'd just gotten out of the shower, and all Kathy said was, "They're gone." And I knew, of course, exactly what happened. So I raced in at 90 miles an hour and heart pounding, and sure enough, they were gone. Oh, it was just a terrible violation of the museum. We just all felt terrible.
The police arrived.
I was in the gallery with them, and I happened to notice one sequin had fallen off on the floor near the exhibit case, which they then took for evidence. And then, of course, we had to call Michael Shaw and tell him. Michael was very interested in getting the message out that they were stolen. We got to get the message out. We got to get them back.
The news travelled fast. David Letterman was even joking about them on The Late Show on CBS.
Well, did you hear about this? A pair of ruby slippers worn by Judy Garland in The Wizard of Oz have been stolen.
Yes.
Have been stolen, yeah. The thief is being described as armed and fabulous.
It was... he was funny.
It was one of the only humorous moments for John because the museum came under suspicion.
People thought it was an inside job. Everyone had their theories, that it was a collector maybe who wanted them. Many people thought they had been maybe destroyed or in the bottom of a mine pit.
The Tioga Mine Pit just west of Grand Rapids saw much more activity than usual on Thursday. A crowd gathered as the Itasca County Sheriff's dive team went to great depths to search for an unusual treasure.
I've looked for quite a few things, but never a set of slippers.
CBS News in 2015. And you know what? They weren't down that mine pit, and they weren't found anywhere else either.
After several years, we didn't want to really talk about the slippers. We just went on. We really got tired of talking about it.
Many thought the ruby slippers were gone forever, but the Grand Rapids police force never gave up. They had a tip-off. Then, in September 2018...
The pair of ruby slippers worn by Judy Garland in The Wizard of Oz have been recovered by the FBI.
So the FBI had a big news conference with a huge American flag, and there were the slippers right in front of the American flag, and they announced that they'd found them.
Not only were these slippers stolen, but the memories of a lot of Americans were stolen back in 2005. And we hope today that we give those memories back.
That's FBI Special Agent Jill Sanborn.
Oh, it was just so exciting. The phone was ringing off the hook at the museum. Media from all over the world.
So tell me what the ruby slippers mean to you.
They mean that chance to get home, that symbolized by, clicking your heels. That sense of place and home. I think that's what touches people.
John Kelsch, the founding director of the Judy Garland Museum in Grand Rapids, Minnesota, USA, was speaking to me, Gill Kearsley, for this edition of Witness History.